is not October. This is the October challenge, but we went through and we played uh, the top 20, and some of them there's a lot of big player counts this time. That was a big difference.
Yeah, we definitely had to rope some others into playing with us, and a few of them we simulated some extra players with ourselves. But yeah, I was surprised with how many took this multiple-handed thing, and they were like, you know what, we need everybody. We're all going to take 2 cards or 3 cards instead of one of us having 9 in our hands.
Yeah, that was shocking to me. That was definitely unexpected. So we're gonna go through one by one and talk about each one of these games. Alert! All hands on deck. This was one of the solo in-hand games where you're playing the entire game in your hand. It's a space battle game, and it's very much like a little bit of Palm Island, and very video gamey, where you're sliding from left to right, and it feels like it lines up almost like Missile Command? Is that the one we said?
Yeah,
Or
kind
not asteroids, but space invaders, and just lining up in line, and there's battles or bosses and things like that.
sticking with the A's is Animal Council. So Animal Council, we all have a hand of cards, and it's a card passing thing, but we are trying to pass goals around, and we can see each other's goals that we're trying to accomplish. And eventually, we're running out of time. We're going to face goals outwards to see what goals we're collecting. But the kicker here with this is we all have to win together, which is what's so neat about this one. It's not like, oh no, he has that and he has that. It's we have to make sure that she gets this card that she needs, and we all pass these cards together, which was the cool wrinkle with Animal Council, is that it's a co-op, everyone meet their win condition game.
So next up is B for Battle for the Carolinas. It's an in-hand solo game, but it's a war game. It's a struggle. It's the what is it? You're fighting your way in two biggest battles: Cowpens and Kings Mountain. Will your army be large enough to defeat the British? Just a note was that it was a gutter fold prototype, or one of those ones where it folds over and all you do is one little cut and all. Super cool. Super bonus points for that. Cheeseburger.
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay. So Cheeseburger is one of those games that as soon as you see it, you're like, yep, we're going to play that one. Basically, you have 2 tool cards for each person. One is a hand, and the other is like a plate or a knife or a bun toaster. And so you have a stack of cards, and you're trying to make a burger. But I have to like take the bun from you and put it in my bun toaster and flip it and catch it. And then we can assemble it on a plate. So just super cool little dexterity game that we just had to try.
You can be great at balancing. You can be great at doing something, but together it changes that whole thing. Combine! Exclamation point. Combine was it's a robot, like a droid building game. It's like a team, but it's not a defined team, and it has a neat like rock paper scissors mechanic. Cool use of that, where that can feel very. I don't know if elementary is the right word for it, but it can feel very just simple, and it didn't feel simple in this game because of everything else that was kind of going on in the head game and trying to figure out who's who.
Next up is Enemy Lines, which basically took the challenge of a game you can play standing in line literally, and it's a game that you're trying to get to the head of the line, right? So it's for 4 to 6 people, and you are playing spies and guards trying to either reach the front of the line or stop the active spy. What's funny about it to me personally is I rail against Brave Rats games, yes. And the way you do each step along the way is simultaneous reveal, highest card wins, plus abilities. Mm-hmm. That simultaneous reveal is only a little part of what Enemy Lines is all about, because as 2 players are confronting each other, everybody else is either going to salute and say, yes, the guard's going to win, or they don't salute because the spy's going to win.
Yeah.
And if you are right and the spy gets defeated, then it's your turn to be the spy. And so you're jockeying for position, and everyone's swapping cards, so you know that they ended up with a good card.
It's very cool. So next up is Unguarded, which when me and Mike played this in a bar or restaurant the other night, they must have thought we were weirder than normal when we're standing there, when we're sitting there playing board games. We're standing up. The whole game, you're fencing, like literally fencing. You have cards that change your pivot. You turn. Your feet are measuring how close you are to each other. You're backing up, and it's neat because the walls and everything matters around you. Wherever you're standing, if you back up into a chair, you lose. I guess it was a loss or a point, whatever.
Right.
But yes, it's your real space matters in a way that was really fun and different.
The play plan is you have ground control, tower control, and air control players all trying to control the arrivals and departures of aircraft in an airport. So you need certain planes on certain runways, and then you need certain runways to have airspace clear for the takeoffs. And then so the ground player is talking to the tower, and tower's talking to air, and air is returning things. And it very much felt asymmetric, but they have to all work together. Seemed super cool. Just not much else like it that we saw at all. Full co-op, but really asymmetric.
So next up is Greetings, and Greetings is a game. It's where you're actually greeting other people. You're going around. It was a fist bump, a handshake, and a high five, right?
So the whole idea is it's like a speed dating thing, right? So you're trying to find your perfect match. So somebody out there likes the same two greetings that you like. So let's say you and I are both handshake and high five. If someone offers us a fist bump, we decline it. Our card says you decline fist bumps. So we're in this big group of people. It's a high player count game. And we're just walking around saying, hey, high five? And if they say no, we know that they're a no high five person. They're not our match. And so you're just walking around just offering greetings to people, trying to find your perfect match. The poser doesn't have any preferences. They can say yes or no to anybody they want. And they're just trying to convince somebody that they're their perfect match. So if you find your match, you both win. If you match with the poser, then the poser wins.
Yeah.
Half inch, which is one of the most different games of all the ones that we've seen. So the whole idea is that there are 6 regions on a card where you can pinch. Okay? When you pinch that card, it causes an effect. The effect might be to flip the card over to the other side. So everyone's going to be holding on to this thing, right? It might be to add another card to the stack. And so when you add another card to the stack, then it gets bigger and bigger. And the whole goal of the game is to be the last person to claim the stack. So when you claim something, when you play an action that claims it, you want to be the one who claims it. It's almost like the bat game where you're doing this. Just nothing else like it. It was one of those that it was just so different. We had to put it on the list and try it out.
Here have this, and here have this. Yeah. It had such a great video where I guess the designer or the person who's making the video is handing the cards to other people, but it's him. It's a big player count game where you have cards, you're giving them to other people. They have all these effects on them and things like that, but you're kind of collecting them in hand. Like some of them were like if you had balloons, and like some win condition was if you had enough balloons or whatever, and if you had balloons, you would simply pivot them up like they're floating a little bit higher in your hand. But yeah, so it's a game, large player count. You're going around giving people things. They all have different abilities and stuff, but it feels like a good party game, like a good social setting, and just the title, just here, have this.
So, do we really have to announce this next one?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get so sick of us saying the name of his games. This is Monarch of Elwick, which means he'll never get sick, which is another return to the top 20 for Chris Anderson, so congratulations. Yeah. But Monarch of Elwick, basically, it's kind of like Diplomacy Light, where you're just constantly making deals with all the players around you. So the card represents sort of a kingdom, and there are bordering nations, and those nations have some icons. What you're really trying to do is gain control over a certain number of icons. And by doing that, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to attack this territory. Who is with me, and you can vote to be with the attacker or with the defender. So it's just this constant shifting alliances thing. You don't want to help somebody out if they're too far ahead of you, but you need to get some alliances or you're going to be left in the dust. So very quick and clean version of a diplomacy type game.
Micromanagement Inc. Micromanagement Inc. is it's a in-hand game, but unlike Palm Island and the other ones we've seen here, Alert and Battle for the Carolinas, it's actually 2-player, where you are managing, I guess it's just a typical office, or, there's some HR things in there. You're twisting cards, you're shifting them to the back. The one thing that I noticed that was different about this than every other game that I've seen, first of all, it's 2-player, but second of all, that the cards on the backs meant something to the player across from you.
When I rotate my resource card, I can see the front. you have access to the resource on the back. The next one that we had was called More Equal, which is another in the sort of what I call the Hanabi family, where you have cards that you're holding. There's a animal on the side that's facing you and an animal on the other side. There's different types of animals. More Equal is the Orwell reference, so it's barnyard animals, pigs, horses. And you are trying to collect a set of animals, but have unique animals on each of the reverse sides in order to make sure you satisfy the conditions. So I can't see what's facing me, or I can see what's facing me, but not what's facing away from me, and I have to exchange cards, trying to collect the right set. So very Hanabi-like, but competitive instead of cooperative, and a nice, clean, sort of streamlined version of that.
It's super clean and has a cool, like, you're going to play multiple rounds, and at the end of a round, you can score 3 points. If you had a certain thing, you can score 5 points if you did even better, but if you do poorly, everybody else scores points. So it had a cool point system and was, like I said, super, super clean. Landscapes. The thing about landscapes that was really neat is, first of all, you're making this landscape kind of from left to right, which is just from a theme side. It was super interesting. You're trying to match its icons in the corners. There's pluses and circles and diamonds and squares or whatever. But you are trying to make this cool like landscape going across.
Well, the thing that was neat about landscapes to me was that it starts facing you, right? So I can see that I have 3 mountains and 2 beaches, and so I need to try to, and I can see that you have a beach there or whatever. But each round, I either flip one of my cards face out, or I take a card from you and then it goes face out. So each round I'm losing information unless I can memorize it. Parc de Triomphe. We tried to not do, it's a surfaceless game, and then Parc de Triomphe is basically a tile layer.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not, right? It's this little path builder, but every time you put a card down, you have the option of covering the current scoring condition or tucking it and leaving the current scoring condition. Then you show everybody what the current scoring condition is. So it might be longest fence the whole game, or at the very last moment, I might say, nope, it's the largest loop, right? Exactly. So this whole idea of, I could be building toward a different victory condition, or, it just seemed a little bit different than your other let's all work toward the same static goal type games.
Reach wins points just for being how unique it is.
Yes, sure.
It's a game where, if I'm right, you start in the beginning and we reach out and kind of get our place. We make sure that we're like hand to hand, and the entire game you're going to play cards to try to touch each other's hands, and there's leaning and everything else.
You're in space, right? The engineer gets hit by an asteroid and gets thrown away from the spaceship. So after we do this and make sure we're close to each other, I have to turn 180 degrees away from you, and then every round I have to apply that momentum and keep spinning up into space. So you're the operator, I forget the name of the player, trying to rescue me. So you have things like tether cards, right? And I can like take the hammer I have and throw it to try to counter my momentum and go back to you. Just wholly asymmetric, real space, and like you literally win by being able to grab each other's fingers. Or you could take a card and extend it as a tool. I mean, just another one that there's nothing like it. We had to play it. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. This is just a terrible joke coming. All right. So I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say the next game is Revolver Noir. Revolver Noir is a game where you are in a dark house and you are trying to shoot your opponent. Did you just get where I was going with that?
It's late.
So, yeah. Basically, your stack of cards represents the rooms that you could possibly be in. So your top card, mine might be the foyer, and yours might be the hallway, right? And then it says the cards that I can move to and the cards that I can shoot into. Seems pretty simple. So on my turn, I can announce that I'm moving, and you have a map so you know where I might be moving to. Or there's other things I can do, like I can listen. If I listen to see if I hear where you are, you have to tell me one of the rooms listed on your move card. But you could tell me the room that you're in. You could tell me a room that you're going to go to. When I say I'm moving, I could move twice, but I could do the old and not actually go anywhere, right? I could just say I'm moving. You described it perfectly. You said it's not cat and mouse, it's cat and cat.
Yeah.
Because you're both trying to catch each other and be the first person to do 2 points of damage.
All right, next up is Royale. It's an odd player count. It was 5 only on paper, I believe.
Correct. Yeah.
5 only, where one player is a king, and the other players just want to get, one player has to get 3 glory in hand. So on your turn, players are going to offer to other players cards, and the king can kind of like interrupt and spend the coins in hand to see those cards, and if any of them are glory, the king wins immediately. Other win conditions if the king gets the gold.
Social standing. So social standing is a game. It's like a Victorian parlor argument. Okay, so players stand in a circle, and you only have 3 cards in your hand. One of them is basically, it tells you what you can do, and it's got a polite side and a rude side. Then you have a card that measures your current social standing, so it starts at 4.
Yep.
And then you have one that measures your breath.
Yep.
So basically, how long-winded you're being, how much you are wasting your time talking. And so all of your attacks sort of do some damage to the other person's social standing. It reminds me a little bit of Walk the Plank, where it's like, all right, I'm going to attack left or I'm going to attack right. But your position very much matters. And unlike a game like Walk the Plank, there are things that let you move. Yeah. So there's one called Interrupt, where I can skip you. Doing so, since you're not talking, gives you more breath, which is kind of like, energy to do stuff. So the cost for you is that you don't get to go this turn, because then the next player to my left would go. But the benefit is now you can do a bigger attack. And so basically you start off by damaging their social standing. As soon as someone gets past 1, they go down to 0. The card flips to the rude side. So they're still in. It's a team game, but now they get access to more, acerbic attacks, and they can be meaner and stuff. So they can still help their teammate win. Just a cool idea. Again, a great example, because all 4 players, or 4 or 6, are standing up in a circle, and they have to work together. So really, really cool.
So that's it. That's all 20. This is like playing next year's new games. Like, that's, to me, it's just like you're getting your hands on things that they're the future.
It's just a lot of fun. So thank you to everybody who submitted a game and is sticking with us and watching videos. Even if you're not a designer, if you're just hanging out with us, this has been so fun for us to do. So thanks again for watching these things.
We will see you next week with the final finalists, the winner.
The award presentation and bonus stars.